Two, two, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Just playing a little bit of music right now, just getting into the zone. If you are watching this, joining, I am Matty McCaskill, musician, coach, music business strategist, audio engineer, father, man of faith, different myriads of things. And I want to just talk with you tonight about the fact that it's difficult. It truly, 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 truly can be tough. Fix this microphone real quickly. Okay, hopefully I fixed that microphone. I had a conversation today. I had a whole video planned for you guys, and it was, it's still going to be a really great video once we get it all done and ready for upload. But I figured, just to give you information, is just not it. I really felt in my spirit that what you need is a real conversation. And that's what I wanted to have, this evening, was just a real conversation about, just what it really looks like and what it takes to have the tenacity to be successful in music. What does that even mean? And, just being in music for 25 years, and maybe even over than that, but just navigating music at 25 years, my definition of success has changed. It went from I want people to know my name when I'm a young, teenager, to I want to be famous. I want people to know my name, to, I just want to be making $500,000 a beat, like Timberland, to I just want to be able to feed my family and, have that confidence level that only really comes from being financially successful, knowing what it is that I'm doing, uh, receiving accolades from peers who I respect, receiving accolades from elders and even people who are fans. But the idea of success has changed over the years. And if you are just getting started, if you are just getting ready to put out some music, it's going to change. And it's very important to know where you are, when life changes and you change. So let me just talk about this really quick. I got some notes because I want to stay focused. Appreciate you for being here. If you're watching this on the replay, I thoroughly appreciate you. Thoroughly appreciate everybody in the room right now. Okay. I took some notes. Right. These are the things that I did not know. And, navigating through the music industry, it can be tough. But when you don't know, what you don't know, it's beautiful, but then it's also like a lot of, in my opinion, it's wasted time. It's wasted time because, as Brian Tracy, he's a really famous speaker and salesperson. I was watching something from his, and he was talking about the 21 facts or common things that millionaires know. And millionaires know this, is that life is about a series of problems to be solved. with the occasional crisis. Life is a series of problems with the occasional crisis. And just to know that is humbling. Just to know that you're never going to get to some sort of, I guess, promised land, because once you get to a specific place, um, I guess, of being comfortable, here comes a crisis, and not knowing those things, you're always looking and working to pursue, trying to pursue a career, and you are you're just it can take you down when you don't know what it is that you're in for. It can really, really, really break you down when one of these crises hits you, or too many problems are coming one thing at a time, and it's just like, oh gosh, come on, like just stop this stuff. But I was just talking about today in a conversation that musicians, aspiring singer songwriters, need to know that music, making music, and being successful in music is so much more than just being really talented. It is so much more than being talented, and I'm going to talk about that. That's my point number one. Is music business, excuse me, success in music is more business than art. And let me just talk about that because, as I'm getting started, you know, uh, playing music, I mean, this goes all the way back to being 10, 12, 10, 11, 12 years old, and I'm sitting down playing my grandmother's piano, and I'm just enjoying the sounds from it. It's definitely an escape because I grew up in a single parent household, and I was with my mom and with my grandmother, and shoot, at the time, yeah, maybe like three sisters. So it was just me. And music was really a way to express myself, a way to take my mind off of, I guess, what I was lacking in my life, you know, growing up without a father and all those types of things like that. And that's when I really just developed a love for music. I said, man, wow, like I can literally go somewhere else. I can play notes that sound great to me. And this is amazing because, every single thing else that was going on, it just was not music was the most important thing to me. I wasn't the best student in Washington, D.C., where I'm from, where we were growing up. There's a lot of violence and uh, stuff happening at the time in the 90s, in the late 90s. And so music was just this outlet where I could express myself and be vulnerable. So fast forwarding, in a go-go band, shout out to all my folks who know about Washington D.C. culture and music. We have a music style called go-go there, and just being in that group with my friends, no responsibility. 13, 14, 15, 16, playing the drums, coming up with music, playing gigs here and there. And it was amazing to do that, right? No responsibility. And it was just amazing being a young teenager in Washington, D.C. And, continuing to grow from there, I was in another band, and at this time I'm 19 years old, and I'm like, all right, look, we did the music, right? We had fun. We got to be on stage and perform when I was in my, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old self. We got to perform on stage, but now it's time to make some money. Now I want to actually turn this thing into a career where I can actually make some income and live off of my music. That was the very first time. And uh to support me, my mother bought me a keyboard. and I used that keyboard in the band that I had joined because I was like, you know what, like I want to be in this band, and I want to be able to make some money from it. So, but the band, what I realized is I had it was great because I got to express more as a music producer and as a musician. But towards the end of the band, I was probably in the band for about a year. And we were going to studio rehearsals to practice. I was taking it really, really, really seriously at 19 years old. I realized that not everyone in the band wanted to be professional. I realized that some of my friends in the band just wanted to be in the band so that they could be famous. And I realized that it was just like, man, our outlook on what we could be doing with this music is completely different. And that led me to leaving the band. And from there I kind of said, well, shoot, like I left the band, and I don't really know what I want to do in my life. And I was just working and playing music here and there with some friends, some other friends of mine, but not really having too much focus and direction. That was very important because had I had focus and direction at that specific time, I would be in a different place right now. And I truly understand and believe that, but we didn't have anybody to guide us. Didn't have anybody to guide me for real at the time. So uh not having direction, right? But direction that, if you don't take life, if you don't grab life, something is going to grab you, or life is going to take a hold of you, should I say. And that's exactly what ended up happening is I don't know what I want to do. I'm working this job and that job and just kind of just a bunch of odd jobs, and there's no real musical outlet for me to play in as a musician. And I'm coming up with my own music, wanting to get out and do and perform, but again, I have no idea as to what I need to be doing, to really catapult my music. And I'm also learning and growing and learning and growing and becoming a singer songwriter, which takes work as well. So I ended up going to culinary school, and that was at the ultimatum of a girlfriend. Culinary school was at the ultimatum of a girlfriend at the time who said, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "I don't know." And I guess I could cook. I did have a love for cooking, and people who are in the arts usually have an eye or taste or skill, that is outside of the art that they do. So like me, I loved playing music, but I also loved cooking food. And so I said, well, shoot, I guess, I'll cook some food and start, work with my buddy in his business. And, it didn't work out like that. It pretty much all failed. And just not having any guidance and mentorship in that area, left me with a school debt, debt. And I knew I didn't want to be in the chefing field because every single chef who I knew, I would talk to them afterwards, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm on my first divorce, or this is my second divorce," and I was just like, "Oh no, this seems terrible. This seems like a terrible field to be in because it seems like every man in that field is divorced, and I wanted to have a family." So I was like, "Man, gosh, I got to figure out what it is that I'm going to be doing." So I just keep going, navigating through life. I started a band that was okay, and I mean we were really we were really good at what it is that we did. I played the drums and I produced the music for the band. So you know we had a 4-piece band, a flute player, drummer, keyboardist, and a bass player, and I produced the majority of the music for the band. I was the leader of the band, and my main goal was to have the sound, be like really just amazing. And my vision at the time was to have a band where there was really dope music playing and people could talk, and at like a lounge or cafe, and people could like talk and really enjoy themselves, and if there was any like dead moments in the conversation, the band was real dope. So that was my idea. But what I did not do is secure gigs for the band. I had no idea about how to book gigs, or that you know, 3 other men are gonna want to have financial sustenance going on. I was just like, "Yo, we just gotta be really tight and good," but I was not focused in on how can I feed my guys, and that's again going back to that music success in music being more than or being more business than art is because once we got our art down, then we need to figure out where am I taking this band? As its leader, where am I taking this band? At a certain point in time, we're gonna be we're gonna be good enough to perform out, but gigs need to be booked. Contracts need to be drafted up. We need to go into the studio. We need to record. There needs to be some constant push and movement, which reminds me about how, as I studied more about entrepreneurialism and got deeper into my music business, I said, man, yo, like music is entrepreneurialism. 100%. Like there's you need to have projections, you need to have marketing, you need to have branding going on. All of these things that that go outside of the sphere of just having really good music. I wasn't even thinking all the way that far. And in my idea, just being honest, is like I feel like I suffered from it because my guys were, they had the crises that came up. And without money in their pocket, everybody had to leave, had to go. There were some ego issues and things like that, but for the most part, people had to go. People had to figure out how they were going to feed their families and all of that. But I wasn't focused in on the business part per se. And so success in music is more business than it is art. And I'm not saying sacrifice your art. I am saying that you need to have a plan on what it is that on what your goals are and how you're going to achieve those goals. You need to have a plan about your brand and marketing strategy and all of that such. Um and that is why I got into the coaching and consulting aspect of for independent artists, independent musicians, is because there's so much that you need to know. And if you take the time, like I took the time, there's so many different things that can end up happening in your life that you can sacrifice, that will have to sacrifice. And you might not necessarily have to sacrifice all those things. There will be sacrifices, but you might not necessarily have to sacrifice those things if there is someone to support you, if there's someone to give some direction, to help you get over, you know 13 or 14 hurdles that we got tripped up by. And that's really, really, really important. It is just really important because, you know, I'm I've had so many things go down with with family, friends, looking to pursue this music and just not having a cohesive plan when I was pushing a lot more as an independent artist and growing, or any of the businesses growing. I had an audio engineering business too. Again, talented, have a gift, and but not being able to say, not knowing that you need to put it together just like a business. You need to price things out just like a business. My audio engineering business was like $35 an hour in 2010, and that was because I was doing it out of my own house. But I hadn't factored in any overhead. I hadn't factored in, any money that I would be paying for taxes, uh, any of that type of stuff like that. If this sounds like new news to you, it you need help. You need help navigating through your music business career. Um, Another thing I wish I knew, that I see a lot of independent artists not doing, or not knowing, is that you have to fund your own music career. You have to fund your own music career. That's just the bottom line about it. And the sooner that you get used to funding your own music career, and I'm specifically talking about adults, anybody, anybody who doesn't have who's not a trust fund baby, or, the majority of us human beings, right? Like, we don't have fathers and mothers who've got, $500,000 just to loan us, or $1 million just to loan us for our music business success. A lot of us are having to do it on our own, and that's exactly how it starts out. Every single business, Fortune 500 companies, they all start off as independent businesses. There's capital here, and some people have capital. A lot of people have capital, right? But for the most part, you've got to start off, somewhere in your basement or in your garage, or the that sort of thing. I'm thinking about Steve Jobs. But you know, the idea that you are going to have enough time to do your job, to do life, to have fun in life, and do your music career to the point where you're going to be successful. Or excuse me, to understanding that your music career, don't have it hinge on, or don't have your all of your funds hinge on just your music career. And I know some, as I say that, I know some people who have, you know, gone it and had the guts to get it done, and just said, listen, I'm just gonna hustle. I'm gonna get this music done. I'm gonna get this music out. And it's either this or not. But you know, that's a small group of people. And I made that mistake. I made that mistake and said, man, it's just, it's got to be all from the music. And, whatever income I have coming in, it's got to be all from the music. But again, like I told you guys earlier, I did not know about business. So I'm like, it needs to be all about my, I guess, skill in what it is that I'm doing. My skill in what it is that I'm doing, not my skill in setting up a proper business and having proper, you know, success habits, making movements, having, key performance indicators, and all this business jargon and stuff like that. I just was like, hey, listen, I know how to do this. I got the skill to do it. I've got the the attention to do it. And so, like, that's going to make me money. And it did not. It really truly did not in the beginning. And as I was just navigating through the industry, making money And making money is a job inside of itself. Finding those prospects and finding different ways about how you can get your music here, or maybe even branding yourself and saying, figuring out how you can do a brand deal, or these are things I had no idea about when I was getting started in music and really pursuing it for real. But you do not have to go that specific route. And this is what this live is talking about. My hope is that, if you're watching this right now, that you become more convinced that the best thing for your music business health and your financial health and your mental health is to get help, is to get some support. Okay. So going to the next point. Um, uh, right. Back to that. I wanted just to touch on this, but I had a certain disdain for for jobs. It almost felt like if I got a job somewhere and it was not related to music, I was some sort of failure. And it wasn't until what, maybe literally like last year or maybe 2 years ago, I got into my consciousness from a gentleman. I can't remember the gentleman's whole name. It is Stormy, and he's into real estate. But he said, your job is your first investor, or your job is your investor. And that little mindset shift, man, I needed that. I could have used that mindset shift 15 years ago. Because if I knew that my job was my investor, it didn't matter where you work. It's better if you can work at something in your field, or something that is adjacent to your field, or that is going to help you in your music career at some specific time. But it really doesn't matter, because whatever it is, they are your first investor. And so just even having that shift of a mindset is something that I wish that I had 15 years ago. And hopefully you having it tonight, actually helps you shift that mindset. If this is something that you're struggling with, how do I work this job? Or I can't work a job because, it's not, I need to be a struggling artist or something like that. No, you do not have to be a struggling artist. You can be a breakthrough artist, a profitable artist, when there's a plan and execution. So not using a regular job as my investor, that was another mistake that I made. And I hope that, you're not making that mistake. If you are, just get a job. You are perfectly fine having a job, because at the core of it, you are an artist. At the core of it, you're an artist, and that's never going to change. Just because you're at a job, your job can't define you, you know, and you've got bigger and better things to do. But at the moment, funding your music career is what it is that you need to do. And that's, if you are, if you don't have a family, if you do have, especially if you do have a family, because man, that goes into point number three is when children come into play, the energy shifts, especially if you collaborate with your child's parent. The focus becomes about how to feed the children. Yo, full transparency, I did not understand that at all. When I had my daughter in 2010, my collaborator and my wife, Edith, Deja Bell, known professionally, we were a part of a songwriting team together. At that time, I was, a lot more. I was right at the beginning of hopping behind the boards myself and recording. You know, just getting into audio engineering and mixing. It's also songwriting. I was kind of tapering off on performing out myself, and you know, we got together to work on music, and we found that there's a commonality with each other, and we found that we really are into each other, and that we want to begin a relationship together. And that was cool because we could work on music and do whatever it is. But you know I did not have a job at that moment, and she did. And the second that our daughter comes around, uh, we all met in 2007, and my daughter comes around in about February 2010, and the whole thing just shifted. I was, I was kind of taken aback. I was just like, "Whoa!" Like, we're parenting now, and rightly so. A woman, artist or not, a woman who has a child, she ends up getting into she is thinking about the well-being of her baby, whereas, I hadn't really kind of grasped that at the point. I was just like, man, like, like, are we, how, maybe, I need to just grind harder at making music, making really good music, but with no plan, with no plan at all. There was no plan. It was just like, make more music. That was not, that was not how you become a proper father, making more music. And with this stigma of having a job, I just remember being like, man, well, shoot, like, I gotta, man, make music. I gotta make money off this music. I gotta make money off this music. And it's like, you know, you can or you cannot, at the time. And it's okay to step back. And I just did not know that, and it really cost me. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, excuse me. It really just cost me, in my growth, and just being, you know, just behind, in certain aspects in life, not getting things, not putting priority. And my priority, you know, is supposed to be your family, as a man, but I won't even get all into that. You know what I'm saying? But when you got children, when children come into the play, the energy shifts. I had no idea about how imperative, like how much the energy was going to shift. And I'm already in my late 20s at the time, and just musician, and just had no idea. So that's another thing. The fourth thing was, you have to continue to learn while handling life. And so why I say that is that, if I had gone another route and had that consciousness of, your job is your investor. Well, your job is your investor, but you still need to keep pursuing your music business. You still need to continue learning, to see different opportunities. At the time, there was the AC3 music conference, and I was just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't really want to network, and just kind of at my own in my own space, kind of depressed and maybe overwhelmed that I've got a child, and a relationship, and I just, like, I was continuing to learn, but I was like, man, it might actually just be too late to go to school. I should have gone to, the bunch of should haves. I should have gone to music school instead of culinary school. But, that type of thinking can just stop you from even just taking action where you are at the moment. And that's one of the one things that I want you to understand is that you have to continue to learn about your craft. You have to continue moving forward when you win an award, or if a song does, really well. You need to continue looking at strategies and learning and reading books and even watching videos on YouTube, having a coach, having a mentor, in different areas, from songwriting to music business to even life coach, relationship coach, all types of just being dedicated to becoming a a learner and a doer, a learner and a doer. Okay, so moving forward is self-teaching. Oh my gosh, self-teaching takes a long time. It takes a long time. It takes longer than you think it is. Okay. A lot of people, spend time watching YouTube. And what it is that you're doing is that if you're trying to teach yourself, here's what happens is that you start you start something, right? You might start making some music or playing some chords or singing. The inevitable problem ends up showing up in your process. You might want to have a music studio. You might say, "Oh shoot, now it's time for me to have a music studio." But what happens is that if you don't have anybody telling you what the different steps are, you end up learning something, and then you end up meeting this the brick wall of the inevitable problem that needs to be solved, but you don't know how to solve that problem. So then you take more time saying, okay, well, what is this problem? Has anybody ever, let me go on Reddit and let me go on YouTube and try to and do my best to try to even diagnose this problem. I have no idea what it is, but let me try to diagnose this problem and then find it out. Yo, that process can take days, it can take weeks, it can take years. And yes, that success does not come overnight, but let me tell you, if it's like if you're doing this for 10 years, that 10-year time span, every second needs is precious. Every second needs to be well calculated. Your movements need to be made correctly, because any steps that are missed, that are misused, I'm not talking about, you having a plan and you shooting for it and it doesn't work and you get back on the horse. I'm talking about mismanaged time, not managing your time correctly, any of that type of stuff. The inevitable crisis, you're coming up on the inevitable